Hello and welcome to this module on resume building. In this module, you are going to learn about writing a winning resume. Whenever you write resume for your jobs, either your resume goes to your personal file where you are called for an interview, or it goes to the trash can. Essentially, there are three kinds of resumes. One is called the chronological resume, the other is the functional resume, and the third type of resume is the targeted resume. A chronological resume is a resume that talks about the career history with many previous jobs. Usually, chronological resume is written by experienced people who are in the industry for long. And functional resume is a resume that highlights your main skills and strengths. This is a kind of resume which is usually written by freshers. And the third type of resume is a targeted resume. It's a combination of functional and chronological that's responding to a specific job advert. It's also called a hybrid resume. But today's class, let us focus on a functional resume. So whenever you write your resume, your goal is to get an interview. It's a kind of a self-advertisement. Think about any successful products. The heart of the product depends on how it is advertised. And the commercial aspect is a very, very important component. And so is with your resume. You have to give a lot of importance to how you present about yourself. So it's a kind of a self-advertisement. It takes only 10 seconds for your employers to assess your resume. Hence, it has to be clear and concise. So now let us discuss the components of your resume. Initially, your resume should have a personal data, clear objective, your previous work experience if you have any. Usually that is not applicable to freshers. And then your academic profile, your key skills, both hard skills and soft skills, your hobbies and interests, your volunteer experience, and your references. So now let us discuss about each component in detail. So let us now discuss about your personal component. In your personal data, which is at the initial part of your resume, it's always better to integrate your photograph. And make sure the photograph is very formal looking, not with a kind of an unkempt hair and flashy flamboyant dresses. Make sure it's very formal. And you can also mention all your details. The mail ID and the phone number is a mandatory field, because these days employees contact not through the postal address, through the mail. And most importantly, if you have any LinkedIn accounts in professional networks, that always gives an impression. Maybe your LinkedIn profile also could be fine. And then you just mention your name, maybe your date of birth, your nationality, because you may also apply for international companies, so they need to know your nationality and your gender. And that's an optional field, provided your names are not misleading. So after you fill in your personal data, you start with an objective. Well begin is half done. So you need to start with a very clear, concise objective. A resume objective is typically a 1 or 2 sentence long. The more effective objective is the one that is tailored to the job you are applying for. It states what kind of career you are seeking and what skills and experience you have that makes you the ideal fit for that career. In short, your objective should answer these 3 questions. What do you want? Why do you want it? And your experience or expertise in the domain. Now, it would be a good idea for you to search for some sample objectives pertaining to your domain and choose one that feels best fits into your profile. Let me now articulate a few sample objectives. Some of them are generic and one is specific. Just identify the specific one. Look at the first sample objective. To build a long-term career in mechanical engineering with opportunities for career growth. The second objective. To enhance my educational and professional skills in a stable and dynamic workplace. Look at the third example. To solve problems in a creative and effective manner in a challenging position. And eventually, to obtain a full-time challenging position that offers opportunities to learn about nanotechnologies while utilizing my experience in biorobotics. Now, out of these 4 objectives, as you know, the 4th one is more clear because it is more specific. You talk about your interest in a particular domain, and you also talk about what you are interested in. Perhaps you are narrowing down your interest. So your objective should be very specific. Let me read the specific objective again. To obtain a full-time challenging position that offers opportunities to learn about nanotechnologies while utilizing my experience in biorobotics. So let your objective be very clear. And your work experience, should be tailor your work experience section to the job opening. Focus on the most relevant responsibilities and the duties you have carried out before, if it is applicable to you. So then let's move on to the crux, the academic experience. In an academic profile, you usually write about your educational profile in reverse chronology, meaning you start from what you are doing recently or what you completed recently. For instance, a BTech graduate who has completed may start with his BTech degree, then go on and describe about his higher secondary and then his 10th standard. So it should be in the reverse chronology. Then mention your key skills required for the job and how your academic skills match. And then it's also a good idea to mention about some of your soft skills. And your CV should demonstrate the skills and specifically required by certain companies. In your academic profile, include the following: your institute of study, your degrees and majors, and it is always a good idea to include your GPA. Should you include your overall GPA? No, if your GPA is not in your resume, then the employer might assume that it is very less. So it's always a good idea to mention your aggregate as well, no matter what they are. And focus on some soft skills as well, like creativity skills, people skills, the practical skills, your communication skills, your arithmetic skills and problem solving skills and so on. Don't tell these skills, demonstrate. You should show some examples on how you have carried out responsibilities and how these skills demonstrate. So, and then let us just go to your key skills, a sample of key skills for a safety engineer. So key skills is a very important section in resume writing. For example, look at this key skills sample for a safety engineer. Managing and supervising 50 staff on a regular basis. Liaising and consulting with senior management on matters relating to productivity and safe working practices. Motivating and inspiring colleagues to achieve maximum productivity. Implementing health and safety regulations. Checking the performance and suitability of safety equipment and so on. So your key skills should be domain specific, should match the industry that you are applying for, the job that you are applying for. And the final section is called the references section. References is where you mention the name and contact details of a person whom you know very well, preferably your professors, because the HR can contact your reference and find out the details. And remember, before you mention the references, get permission from your professors. Mention the reference name and position, the email and their mobile number, because they would definitely be contacted by the HR. Repeat, your resume should be relevant, it should sell your achievements, it should be easy to read and follow, and it should be, most importantly, truthful. You shouldn't mention any information which does not relate to you. And it should also highlight the skills you have developed both in and outside your work. Use positive jargons, positive adjectives without jargons, and don't include too many interests. And lying about hobbies in order to sound impressive may land you in trouble. So, and resume should not have full of irrelevant information, a list of job titles and duties. It should not be jumbled and cramped. It should not be vague, and don't be dishonest. Any false information, let me remind you, may land you in trouble. So to just repeat, a sample functional resume will start with an address and your key skills. Then you will mention your achievements, and later you will describe if you have any experiences, a career history, educational qualifications, and any kind of membership in professional bodies. And it is also a good idea to mention your curricular and co-curricular activities as well. So take a look at the functional resume in the samples. Thank you.